Om Agana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurnulitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Purnam Mada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Tat Sat. Reading from the Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, we're on verse 39. Esha te bibite samkhye buddhi yoge tvam imam. This yoga of discernment that I am sharing with you is called Sankhya, O Arjuna. Now hear from me how, through this Buddhi yoga, you can be free from the binding effects of karma generated by action within matter. Buddhi refers to the intelligence, Buddhi yoga. The ability to discriminate is actually the power of Buddhi yoga. It is also called Sankhya, or the power to discern this from that. Now, Krishna wants to teach Arjuna that system of discernment through the power of the intellect, or Buddhi yoga, which can free him from the binding effects of karma. Everything we do, all actions we perform, have a resultant reaction, either good or bad. So the power of Buddhi yoga allows us to discriminate what should be done and what should not be done. So he says, first of all, the results of Buddhi yoga practice are never lost in this or future lives. It is something which stays with us. It is the very power of, we'll say, good karma that never goes away. We can also call it sukriti, that which never fades. That is, whatever we have achieved through the power of this Buddhi yoga will never be lost. If we don't complete it in this life, we will be able to pick it up next life. Even a little of this Sanatana Dharma action protects one from the dangers of future harmful karmic reactions. First of all, the results of Buddhi yoga practice never lost. Whatever you do remains, either this life or in the future. It can be called Sanatana Dharma, the practice of eternal Dharma. And it is always giving positive results, carrying us into the realm of spirituality. This is like the first step into the realm of spirituality. Buddhi yoga or karma yoga, like that. In this Buddhi yoga process, the discerning faculty is constantly held with one pointed focus upon the Atma. That is, with knowledge of the self being distinct from the body. Whereas attention of the unfocused person is many-branched and wanders endlessly upon the temporary pathways of material thought. The mind has many impressions, and the mind can wander here and there and everywhere. But the practitioner of Buddhi yoga is fixed in the understanding that he is not the mind, but he is the self within. Intellectually, he accepts this fact, not yet spiritually realized, but he understands that I am not this body, nor am I this mind with all its meandering thoughts and so forth. Most humans mistake the ultimate purpose of Vedic knowledge, and they become confused by flowery language and poetic language, taking symbols and metaphors in a literal way And they conclude that rituals for material gain and harmony with nature are the final and ultimate Vedic truth. One should know the real purpose of the Vedas. That is the first thing. One should not misunderstand thinking that the Vedas are encouraging us to only perform pious activities with the attainment of heavens. Nor is the actual goal to merge into the Supreme. The actual goal of the Veda is to awaken our natural love for God, for Krishna. And it begins with the proper understanding that I am the Atma, and everything within this material world is of a temporal nature. Certainly we're going to have to make decisions. Arjuna is on the battlefield. He has to make a decision, what to do, what not to do. At this point, he's under the influence of sentimentality and emotion. He doesn't want to fight. He sees grandfather and others out there, and he's thinking in so many so-called logical terms with the conclusion that he is not going to fight. I rather put down my weapon and not fight, he tells Krishna. But Krishna doesn't go along with this path of action. You may think you have the proper understanding of something because it has come out of yourself, but the mind is very fickle and therefore can trick us into various paths of action which are actually unhealthy. So, because their Atma is still distorted by karmas, that is of unfulfilled material desires on earth, they generally perform varieties of superficial Vedic rituals, hoping to achieve their wished-for goal of higher pleasures in the heavens, the Swarga Lok, which is merely a higher material realm. There are two words, punya and pap. Punya means pious activities which gives good material results. And there are various types of sacrifice and different things that one can do to bring good fortune into one's life. But that's not the ultimate goal. Just like someone may consult an astrology chart and find out why there's a negative result. Sometimes in marriages they want to know why is their problem. And they will say, okay, the Mars is in this position and you have to change this. You can wear this gem, you can do this thing. Or you can perform this sacrifice to Saturn, and they have different things that are done. There is also what is called prayaschita, or atonement of previous negative activities. This is the question that actually brings about the subject matter of the Bhagavatam with the story of Ajamil. Because when Maharaj Parikshit asks Shukadeva Goswami about the process of atonement, he ultimately discourages that. Sometimes it's, the example is given like in modern day Christianity that one can confess one's sins, say a few prayers, and one is free. But the point being is the tendency still remains. So if the tendency still remains, one will be inclined to do again and again. So the ultimate goal is to become free of the desire to do that. So Maharaj Parikshit considers that this path of prayaschita, this path of atonement, is something like the elephant who bathes and then throws the dirt back upon himself. A cleansing and then dirtying. He gives that example. So then he tells the story of Ajamil, pointing out the power of the holy name. that even Ajamil is calling out for his son, the power of the holy name saved him. There was no other need for atonement to save him from going to hell. Just by the chanting, a mere reflection of the holy name by calling out Narayan, he was saved from the hellish conditions which the Yamadutas were going to take him to. They had already put, it's described in the Bhagavatam, they put a noose around his neck and was dragging the soul from the body. So there are various types of activities that, okay, what can I do to protect me from going to hell, or something that can propel me to a more heavenly life, or a more prosperous life. But the process of Buddhi Yoga is transcendental to that, punya and pap, good and bad. It is meant to put us on the path of the eternal, Sanatan, the path of the eternal, which will take us to the highest reality. And it begins with knowledge of Atma. Atma means the self. I am not this body. I am the spirit soul within the body. That is first thing. We know when Prabhupada first came, that was like his emphasis. You're not this body. You're not this, so many lectures. You're not this body. That emphasis was there. Because material-minded persons want to protect themselves from negative activities, which is kind of normal, and at the same time propel themselves into pleasurable activities. So, sukhe dukkhe, happiness, distress. But that is always fluctuating, as we understand the nature of duality, winter, summer seasons, heat, cold, like that. So Krishna ultimately explains how we have to learn to tolerate the dualities of material world. For those attached to enjoying material pleasures, their immortal potential is distorted and stolen away. If one is stuck in the concept that I am the enjoyer and this life is only meant for enjoyment, seeking out enjoyment while avoiding the pitfalls which will have me suffer, then your true, what is called here, it's interesting, immortal potential is lost, because you're absorbed in the temporal. As a result, they do not have the discernment to see their Atma or taste the greater pleasures of the higher states of transcendental samadhi. They don't understand the true nature of divine pleasure, which is within oneself, awakening of the consciousness of one's eternal reality in relationship to God. The Vedic rituals, Krishna goes on, are mostly concerned with the three gunas: ignorance, passion, goodness, and with managing our relationship with matter to achieve temporary material comfort. Just like it is understood that we live within a world of matter, and those three modes of nature are all around us. Certainly, for instance, Krishna speaks later on the qualities of food in relationship to the three modes. That foods that are in the tamagun will produce illness and sickness, and passionate foods will simply increase one's passionate desires. Foods in the mode of goodness bring about a higher state of well-being. So certainly we're interested, if in health, we want to eat proper diet that will keep us healthy and keep our mind active and clear, purposeful, focused on the Supreme. So we may take some interest in what is in understanding the modes of nature, but that is done only in support of the Atma. What we do is with the understanding that we are not the body, we may take advice of the scripture that what is in the mode of goodness is preferable, because that will keep mind and body clean. We act in a way just like rising in the morning hours and stuff like that, bathing, all of these practices of cleanliness, they're secondary to devotion, but they are supportive of devotion. O Arjuna, redirect your desires from this acquisitive hunger, I guess is the word, for superficial pleasure. Indeed, free yourself from duality and be true to yourself, be true to your Atma, and live in the world of an immortal being. While living in the temple world, live as a spiritual being. The art of yoga is understanding that we live in a temporal world, that we are not this body, but we live in the consciousness of being part and parcel of the Supreme. We are Atma, and God is the Paramatma, the Supreme Atma. And those things that are related with Him, or our actions that are related with Him, are positive actions, spiritual activities. Just as there is no need to dig a well when fresh water is flowing everywhere, so one who knows the pleasures of Brahman, the transcendental realm, beyond matter, from where we come, does not need to seek material pleasure separately through the means of Vedic rituals or any type of. This is in the context, of course, in a Vedic society. So in the present day context, we understand being raised in a capitalistic society, and another is the modus operandi, that how can I achieve another, a better, a greater. So people think like this. But this keeps them stuck within the realms of material matter. He says, Krishna says to Arjuna, because you have free will, you can control your actions. But you are never in control of the fruit or the ultimate outcome of what you do. Therefore, never let attachment to the fruits be the ultimate result of your actions. Conversely, do not simply retreat into a state of detached inaction. You live in this world which is governed by activities. Everybody is engaged in some form of activity. Work is a requirement within this world. Every living being is required to do something for his maintenance and maintenance of extended family and so forth. But our focus has to be on pleasing the divine and not in the temporary results that are achieved. We have to transfer our activities from mundane to spiritual. Instead, perform all your activities in a state of yogic awareness, without attachment to the result, undisturbed by pursuing siddhis or perfections, or avoiding asiddhis or imperfections in whatever you do. It is said that such balanced consciousness is karma yoga. So Krishna begins with explaining the path of karma yoga as a lead-in to the path of devotional yoga, bhakti yoga. Most people are coming from this world. They're tied to this world by various karmas that are keeping them bound. And it is a difficulty to sever ties with karmic. We have family members, we have different things that are going on. That even the DNA within our body is carried over from the families we're born in. These can be all considered part of the entanglement within this material world. We have a sense of identity which is also carried over by our upbringing and so forth. But we want to learn how to now focus our activities in a way that it will lead to devotion to the Lord. So there has to be the beginning step. Therefore, Krishna is teaching the ways of Buddhi Yoga, that is, the ways of intellectually perceiving things in accordance with Vedic Dharma and acting in terms of that Dharma, but with the understanding that we are the spirit soul, we are the Atma, and our actions are meant to please the Lord. Listen, Arjun, Buddhi Yoga is greatly superior to material actions. Take refuge in loving surrender to the wise discernment of the Buddhi faculty. Those whose karmas are only based on the logic of obtaining the fruits of material actions are seen to be selfish and become kripanas or miserly beings, clinging to this inert matter. This is mine, this is mine. One who is permanently linked to the Buddhi faculty goes beyond the relativity of sukha and dukkha and the determiner of what they do, as the determiner of what they do. In other words, actions are not calculated of how this will bring me happiness or how I can avoid distress. Those are the calculative, mental ways of the materialistic person. Will this give me happiness? Will this avoid distress? Sukha dukkha. Going beyond that, connect with your Atma through yoga, and that yoga will restore harmony and balance to all your actions. Nice term there. The yoga that restores harmony and balance to all our actions. Dedicated to the spiritual reality of our existence. That is proper actions. Those wise yogis who always act with this discernment and who have released their actions, their attachment to the karma phala, the result of their actions, are actually muktas, liberated from the bondage of continued rebirth. Their consciousness resides forever in the transcendental realm of mind, where such hunger for material pleasures is never felt again. They rise above the duality of sukha and dukkha, the happiness and distress, seeing themselves as eternal beings in relationship with the Supreme Eternal Being. That is true yoga, and our actions should harmonize with that understanding. When the clarity of your awakened Buddhi carries you, the individual soul, beyond the dense darkness of material illusion, then you will no longer be disturbed by what you have heard in the past or what you will hear in the future. So many ideas and concepts. You are free from confusion, in other words. Free from the duality of mental confusion. What should be done, what should not be done, this and that. Everybody with their interpretation of what is good for you, what is not good for you, and so forth. When your Buddhi remains steady, but you are centered in yourself, you are fixed in yourself, and thus you remain steady in yourself, unwavering in meditation upon your Atma, your true self, you will no longer be distracted with the details of Vedic rituals, or seeking material pleasures, avoiding the distresses of this world. You will be absorbed in samadhi, in that state of transcendental reality of the true nature of the self. And you will directly perceive your true nature in this way and achieve the perfection of Buddhi yoga. This is the path in which Krishna instructs Arjuna now. Follow this path by which you will awaken within divine consciousness. Arjuna then has some questions. So we'll stop at this point here, continue with our next Gita reading at this point, chapter 2, verse 54. But here Krishna has given a wonderful description and a means by which one can free oneself from the entanglement of the duality of birth and death, happiness and distress, and achieve the divine spiritual happiness of the self. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol, Shri Radhe Shyam.